Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the National Hockey Now Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by National Hockey Now. It is Wednesday, October 26th. Ian Cameron and Alex B. Smith shaking off the BetCast hangover from last night, our first live BetCast of the season, which was a lot of fun. And we're joined today on the show by Andrew Goss, who was with us last year for one of our shows during the playoffs. Andrew, it's great to have you with us once again.
Yeah, thanks for having me back, guys. Really excited to be on. It's a great time of year with hockey finally back on the ice.
It certainly is. And for everyone that joined us on the BetCast last night, we appreciate it. In the chat, the response and the discussion was phenomenal. And those that joined us live on the stream, on the actual BetCast, we appreciate it very much. Lots of fun. I don't know if we've laughed that much collectively as a group on any of the BetCasts that we have done prior to last night. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We had a lot of hijinks. I think Vito, who joined us late in the BetCast, did his best pre-Halloween zombie impression, rumbling, bumbling, and stumbling out of bed, rolling out of bed at 7 a.m. in Latvia, and joining us for the late games last night. Although he turned into a live betting wizard in some of those late games. He was hitting some bets left and right, so that was good to see. A lot of fun last night, and we're looking forward to doing another BetCast, probably November 29, the tentative date of the BetCast that we will be doing in November, so on a Tuesday as well. So looking forward to that. But a very fascinating night in the National Hockey League, no question about that. And when you look back at last night's games, lots to analyze and dissect. Sweating out my best bet on the show from yesterday with Arizona Columbus over 6.5, and then we got the explosion we needed late in that game, 6-3. And yesterday was a lesson in that game. You don't lay big prices with mediocre to below average teams. And as much as we are anti-Arizona, Columbus is no great shakes. Columbus is not a team I trust in the minus 210 range. And sure enough, they end up losing 6-3 last night to the Arizona Coyotes. We saw Boston just continue to win games with, they've had a bunch of, they're getting healthier now, but still it's been a very impressive start for the Bruins. Another nice 3-1 win. Linus Ullmark remaining undefeated as a starting goaltender on the season. Minnesota with their best defensive performance of the year by far in a nice tidy 3-1 road victory against Montreal. The Devils with a 6-2 win against Detroit, bouncing back after a disappointing game against the Washington Capitals, and a nice performance in net from Vitek Vanacek. Now, he only had to face 22 shots, but, he made the saves he had to. And as I ranted about the fucking disappointments of Mackenzie Blackwood on the show yesterday, my thought is we got to roll with Vitek Vanacek now in New Jersey. Give him the net consistently and see what he can do. You paid him money because you're worried and frightened and terrified about Blackwood's inconsistencies and Blackwood's inability to stay healthy. Give him a shot now, I think, if you're New Jersey, and ride with Vitek Vanacek. Call a great game between the Avs and the Rangers. 3-2, Avs in a shootout. Really had that playoff feel to it. And Alexander Georgiev in his return to New York beats the master, if you will, Igor Shesterkin, in a 3-2 shootout win for the Avs. Alex's Chicago Blackhawks, don't know how long this is going to last, but another victory for Chicago, 4-2 win over Florida. Calgary rolls along, 4-1 win against Pittsburgh. Should check out my Twitter to see the Daryl Sutter press conference. Hilarious. He's not all that happy even after a 4-1 win last night. Just a classic Sutter press conference there. 5-1 Seattle against Buffalo. Great road trip. I took Buffalo last night because I've been riding them, but I was fully aware they could fall flat, hit the wall at the end of a long, successful road trip. That's exactly what happened. LA, very impressive. First home game off a long road trip, and they beat the Tampa Bay Lightning 4-2. And Vegas ends the night on a high for me. A double up with them, first period puck line and in regulation, and they come back from a 2-1 deficit going into the third with 3 goals in the third to beat San Jose 4-2. And congratulations, by the way, to Phil Kessel, the Ironman streak, and his 400th goal in the National Hockey League, which was an absolute beauty last night. Breakaway goal for his number 400th goal in his career against the San Jose Sharks. Alex, Tuesday night, your thoughts and takeaways?
Yeah, well, like I said, the Betcast was great. Thanks to everybody who joined for that. That was a lot of fun. I know you guys kept rolling for about a good hour and a half after I got off of the stream, and so I was watching a little bit. Started with that late night game. I said Vegas. I had that first period puck line as well, and Phil Kessel getting the highlight goal, the milestone goal, like I said, on that great breakaway, and also hitting the Ironman record. So now, not only does he have the record, but he's 10 games away from being the first to possibly skating 1,000 straight, which I think at this point he can go as long as he wants, and I don't know if anybody's going to catch him anytime soon thereafter. And there's a couple other guys who have some decent 400, 500 game streaks, but that's a hell of a run. 17 years, and a guy who was not exactly the model of fitness in the NHL, but still kept himself in shape enough to play that long. That's a testament to just his work ethic. So kudos to Phil Kessel for that. The Hawks, I mean, how about them? They're not supposed to be winning right now, but they are. No one's telling them that they're tanking. Everybody in that locker room is believing that they can compete night in and night out. And you beat a Florida team that really, it's an impressive win because Florida's still good. They're still talented, but they can't get out of their own way right now. And like I said on the Betcast, they have an identity crisis. This Paul Maurice kind of system of slowing things down, being more responsible defensively, it's not really adding up to how Florida was built. The reason why Florida had a record regular season last year was because they were up and down the ice. And they're missing, they're missing some key guys, and they just don't have their rhythm underneath them yet. And I don't know what's going to take. I think they're going to have a game where they kind of, make a throwback move to last year and start playing up and down, open up the ice a little bit more if they want to kind of get things rolling, moving forward. But the Hawks have just been sensational. Great goaltending again from Alex Stalock. And you got Patrick Kane finally getting a goal first of the season, also had an assist. The only caveat is Tyler Johnson did go down with a significant injury. Will be missing some time. And if you remember last year, he was the first domino that fell. When they started, they started off the gate losing. They were 0-9-1. But when Johnson got banged up, that kind of disrupted everything because he's a guy that can plug and play it anywhere from top line to the fourth line. He can be a grinder. He can be a scorer. He can be on the power play. He's a big piece, and he was looking pretty good up until that injury. He got an assist actually on one of the goals before getting hurt. So that's going to be unfortunate. So it remains to see what happens there. Just look at some of the other games. Like I said, Arizona, a shocker, doubling up Columbus. And, Columbus, maybe they're not ready to take that next step just yet. The defense is still shaky, but I thought they would be getting some more consistent offensive looks. I expect them to, if they're going to lose a game, giving up 6 goals, at least they'd have 4 or 5, not be held to 3. And pretty much held off the board for the first 35, 40 minutes of play. So that's a bit concerning for them. And the last team looking at, of course, Tampa Bay Lightning, that was my best bet. They end up losing the LA Kings. They're still having their kind of woes about them. And we called it from the beginning, talking about the Stanley Cup hangover, playing 3 straight finals in a row. That's really tough, and it's showing at times. And Vasilevsky, a couple soft goals that he let in, something we're not going to say often. But he did let in a couple of softies.
Exactly. It's the old Betty Crocker burns the odd cake theory right there. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you have to be careful of that. And I thought it was a great spot scheduling-wise for both teams, fading LA off of the road trip, looking at Tampa starting this 3-game Cali trip. So, maybe they can try to get it back on track tonight quickly, and that'll be interesting to see. We'll talk about it in a little bit.
Yeah, they had a team that was coming off a grueling road trip last night, couldn't get it done, and they're facing a team in the same boat tonight. Will they be able to get it done? The Tampa Bay Lightning, that's the question. Yes, I want to mention one of Cheshire Cat's comments about Huberdeau. Yes, he got his first goal with the Calgary Flames last night. And they actually asked Daryl Sutter about it after the game. It's like, how important, how good is it for you guys, important for you guys, for Jonathan Huberdeau to get that first goal with your team? And he says, it's not important to us, but I know it's important to some of the guys around here that ask about him all the time. Maybe they won't ask about him now on Saturday, he says. Just a classic Daryl Sutter remark right there. Yeah. A classic Daryl Sutter retort. Unbelievable. I love it. Must-see television every time. I mean, with the post-game pressers for Sutter, it just really you get a gold mine. You get a gem each and every time. Andrew, not just last night's card, but if your first time with us on the show this year, just things that have stuck out to you, certain teams, certain players, last night's action. Talk about whatever you want to.
Yeah, no, I think I'll piggyback off Alex a little bit. I think Tampa's been an interesting case study so far this season. I think going into the year, you always think of them as a cup contender, and as they should be. But there's definitely been some issues early on, and I think a lot of that can be attributed to just an insane amount of games played over the past 3 years. I think when you go on that many runs and that many important games, jumping back into a brand new season with 82 games staring in your face, I think it's probably a little bit harder to get up every night. And that's something that Cooper, obviously, as a really good coach, will probably be addressing. But Vasilevsky looks a little shaky at times. Kucherov finally found the back of the net. It seems like Stamkos has been the guy leading the charge offensively for a team that's obviously pretty deep and has made so many runs because of that. But I mean, going off of that, I mean, I thought last night's game between the Avs and the Rangers was kind of a must-see game. I mean, for multiple reasons, I think the Rangers are top 3 team in the East coming into this season. I think the amount of skill and speed they play with matches really well with the Avalanche. And obviously coming off a Stanley Cup run, those two teams have a lot to look at each other and see themselves in the mirror a bit. I think the Rangers can look at the Avalanche and see all the young guns, the way they play. You have a guy like Fox who can look at Makar and be like, that's someone who I played growing up against and someone who I want to take my game to the next level and be like. And then obviously the great storyline of Gorgiev going back and playing Shazurkin is pretty cool. And you can just tell throughout the game, and then obviously with the celebration at the end of the shootout, how much that game meant to him, because there was a lot of emotion, and obviously he was really excited to be back in that building. So definitely felt nice to see him get a win there. And I wouldn't be shocked if those two teams see each other way down the road towards the spring, because there is a lot of talent on the ice when those two teams play each other.
That's a good point. It would be a fascinating matchup if we're going to get that. No question about it down the road. I want to point out before we get into Wednesday's card and the 3 games as well, very important. I should have mentioned this at the top. I meant to, but forgot. But if you are not a member of our Patreon Ice Guys page, patreon.com/Ice Guys, today would be a great day to sign up, because we are unleashing at 3:30 p.m. this afternoon our first video exclusive for Patreon Ice Guys members on the page, a bonus segment that we did yesterday with our guest Jay Rosehill, who was fantastic. And we talked about current state of fighting in the National Hockey League for 3 guys, Ian, myself, Alex, and Jay, who just, obviously we want fighting in this league long term. The state of it, where does it go from here? The concerns we have, some of the gripes we have about the fighting in the league, and also the physical play in the league. And Jay in particular, he went off. He had a rant of all time when we did that segment yesterday. Very entertaining. It was about a 40-minute discussion that we had. We also mentioned our past and present top NHL fighters, top NHL enforcers. Great discussion regarding fighting in the league, and that will be on the Patreon page. It'll be exclusive for our Patreon members at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time later this afternoon. So be sure to check that out by joining the page. Just $10 a month, patreon.com/Ice Guys. It's definitely quality content right there that we'll have for you.
Yeah, definitely. And then also as well, we have both of our power rankings. There's a couple of articles that I posted, a couple of lists of links that every bettor should, every NHL bettor should have bookmarked on their browsers. We've got Chris Otto's first period charts as well. Those have been updated this morning. So there's a lot of different things. And of course, the daily NHL card, for those of you who can't catch the show, be it podcast or live, you can just get the daily card there every day. And all that is just $10 a month.
Absolutely. So check that out, patreon.com/Ice Guys. All right, Wednesday night card. We have the first game is the first of the doubleheader games tonight on TNT. New York Rangers and the New York Islanders. Islanders -135 home favorites. Now it's creeping up to -140 in some spots. So a lot of money's moved on the Islanders here, because they opened about $1.15 in this game. The total 6 right now across the board. And obviously spot-wise, Islanders rested, have not played since they lost to the Florida Panthers on Sunday. So 2 days off for them prior to this game tonight against the Rangers. That being said, you're laying $1.35, $1.40 with a team that's lost 3 straight games, and a team that's not exactly, rolling and firing on all cylinders right now, the Islanders. In fact, the defensive side of the puck is actually where they've had some glaring issues during this losing streak. Give up 4 to Jersey, 5 to Tampa Bay. 3 to Florida, so 12 goals, an average of 4 goals per game during that span. It's not exactly the kind of Islanders shutdown defense we became accustomed to seeing under Barry Trotz now, is it? From the last 3 games for the New York Islanders. So that's definitely a little bit of a concern. The Rangers have hit, I guess, their first little tailspin of the year. The loss to San Jose started it, which was surprising, but you could tell right away the team was a little flat in that game. The Columbus game, of course, there was no Shesterkin in net, Yaroslav Halak, as he's often been, unfortunately for him last year. And that start against Columbus, Yaroslav shellacked right now. 5-1 loss to the Jackets. And then last night was a great game. And you knew they would be in tough, obviously, playing the defending Stanley Cup champions. But I thought they could have easily won that game. They fired 46 shots on Georgiev, who clearly played, I think, out of his mind good because he's playing his former team. You always want to beat your old team and prove a point. And Georgiev wanted to do that last night for the Colorado Avalanche, and he did. And he actually bested Igor Shesterkin in the shootout as well, allowing Colorado to get the 3-2 win. So coming off a game like that, high pace, very, very intense, obviously a much anticipated game against Colorado. What do the Rangers have in the tank here for a back-to-back situation? Now, granted, you don't have to fly anywhere. Remember, this is back-to-back, but New York, and you're going to, Long Island here. So it's a situation where you're just going to take a bus, essentially, and get to the arena here for this game against the Islanders. So it's not like it's an intense, immense travel for the New York Rangers that they have to worry about. I'm passing on this game all around. But if I see this line keep creeping up, even if it is likely going to be Yaroslav Halak, we're going to assume it's him. We've been waiting for official confirmation. Hasn't happened yet, but we got to assume it's going to be Halak here on the second of back-to-back games for the Rangers after Shesterkin was in net last night. It will be Ilya Sorokin who will be in net here for the Islanders tonight. But for me, there's a pass. But if this line keeps creeping, and we get to a point where we're at plus 125 or even plus 130, with the Rangers, I'm going to be considering the Rangers at that price because to me, the Islanders aren't minus 150 or that kind of price range better than the New York Rangers, even if the spot's in their favor. For now, it's a pass, though. Alex, what do you think? Rangers, Islanders?
Yeah, this is a pass for me, too, because it was conflicting. The history of this series has gone under 8 of the last 10 meetings, including 6 of the last 9 when the Islanders are at home. But like I said, they haven't been really that sound defensive team like we've seen that just shut down defensive team every single night. We know the Rangers can put up goals in bunches. And, of course, now Halak, if he's going to get the start, as bad as he looked, there's a significant drop-off between Shesterkin and Halak. So I'd have to lean toward the over based on current form, but I just don't want to touch it because this is a rivalry matchup, and both teams are coming in off of, where they've lost 3 in a row. This is one of those spots where you think, they're going to throw the body around, get physical. We can see a lot of penalties called. And sometimes that lends itself to a lot of power play chances and a lot of goals. Sometimes it can kind of just be, especially if it's flip-flops. Like, look at the Minnesota and Montreal game last night. And we were watching that live on the Betcast where we saw a lot of 4-on-4s. So you had these staggered, shortened power plays. So the numbers are kind of skewed a little bit. You see 0 for 2, but really – those weren't 2 full power play chances. They might have equated to 2 minutes in total between the 2 or 3 penalties. So I think it could be possibly one of those games. And if that's the case, then that might throw the rhythm off a little bit, maybe hard for the total. As far as side goes, I'd like Islanders, but I'm not laying $1.35 in that spot. I kind of missed the boat with that one, and I don't trust it even in regulation. So it's a clean pass.
Yeah, you know what? If it's Halak in net, I'd gravitate a little bit, Jarek, to what you're looking at, that team total. On the New York Islanders, I could see that. And what I do like is Lane Lambert is realizing that, hey, once again, we're having some offensive issues. And that's been a consistent for the Islanders a lot. Other than, beating up San Jose and Anaheim, two teams struggling on a long road trip. The other games, you take out those 2 home wins against San Jose and Anaheim, they've scored 1 against Florida, 1 against New Jersey, 3 against Tampa, and 2 against Florida. So they haven't exactly been finding the back of the net consistently in the other games. But Lane Lambert is making a change with his lineup tonight. Oliver Wahlstrom is moving up to the top line for the Islanders tonight. This guy's got talent. He does. And he'll play with Barzal and Bailey, it looks like, on the top line. He's got 3 goals and 1 assist so far on the season. He's gone 3 games without a point, but now he's going to get to move up to that top line. chance to make an impact. It looks like based on the current lineup combinations and lineup charts as well, that we're going to see Wahlstrom on maybe the number 1 power play unit tonight as well for the New York Islanders. So they're giving him an opportunity. And this is a guy that early in the season was going for the Islanders offensively. He's cooled off a little bit, but it's not like anybody is lighting it up consistently for the Islanders. He's moving up to the top line, and you can find anywhere from plus 325 to plus 360 in that range for Oliver Wahlstrom to score a goal tonight for the New York Islanders. So that's a clear prop bet for me when I see this situation. It's the Ian Cameron wheelhouse special. Bargain bin prop price on a guy moving up to the top line when you can get it at a plus 325 or better. And that's Oliver Wahlstrom here tonight for the New York Islanders. Andrew, what do you think here, Rangers Islanders?
Yeah, so I mean, my thoughts kind of resonate with all of yours. I mean, it's a surprising line, but it makes sense once you consider the back-to-back. Sherzerkin probably not playing, even though, like you said, that hasn't been confirmed yet. But I'm going to roll with the Rangers tonight. I think getting that good of a team with that kind of value is worth a shot. I wouldn't throw much of your bankroll on it, but I think it's a good unit play. I think it's just an overall better team. I think they push the pace down the ice a heck of a lot better than the Islanders have shown to do this year and even in the past. And I think after kind of a deflating loss last night where you're probably the better team for most of the game, you're going to be excited to get back out on the ice tonight, and it's a quick trip up to the island. So I'm going to take the Rangers here. I think they really play a good defensive effort in front of Halak, try to get him a win. And I think at plus 115, plus 120, maybe by the time the puck drops, I think that's a good bet. I mean, you're not chasing numbers here with that one. I think that's worth putting a little bit on.
I agree. I think that's a good. I think at this price, I don't mind people taking a shot with the Rangers, even if the spot's not in their favor. I think it's definitely a situation where they could still come out on top. They are going to be. This is a team that's kind of a rival, the New York Islanders. But the thing I like the most, though, is that Wahlstrom prop. I really do. I mean, I think that's a good one. He scored 3 goals. He's up to the top line. He's getting the plus 325 or better price here in this game to score a goal. I think that's a great situation. And he's been actually one of the better offensive players. Let me look up the Islanders' individual player stats right now. I think even though he's gone 3 straight games without a point, he's still been one of their better offensive producers so far early in the season, which tells you how much this team has struggled to get all the big guns clicking and producing and just finding the back of the net here early in the season. Let me just see here. We've got Wahlstrom second in goals behind only Anders Lee. Anders Lee's been terrific. 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points. I think if you're going to look at someone else for the Islanders, that's the guy you got to look at. El Capitan, the captain. Anders Lee, you're only getting plus 200 at best, though. That's the issue. That's not the price that I like in my goal score props. I like the bargain bin. And like I say, Wahlstrom at plus 325 or better. He's playing on the top line tonight. That's the kind of shit I like when it comes to player props and the goal scorers market. All right, next up, we've got Edmonton and St. Louis. Edmonton minus 115, slight road favorite, 6.5 the total. I agree with the Oilers being slight road favorites. I like Edmonton here. Starting a road trip, revenge spot. They got shut out by the Blues at home on Saturday night, or Saturday afternoon, rather, 2-0. Disappointing performance, but needed a win to end that road, that homestand, rather, at 500. And they got it done against Pittsburgh with a big second period, powering them through to a comeback victory against the Penguins. And now starting what's going to be a pretty lengthy road trip now, after a lot of home cooking early in the season for the Oilers. But now they're going to get a little bit of a road trip here. The Oilers moving forward. Actually, this one, they're going to play Chicago after this tomorrow night on a back-to-back, and then they're in Calgary. And actually, they're home after that for 3 games. So I thought this was going to be a lengthy road trip, but they've stuck 3 more home games. So it's not going to be the length of the road trip that I initially thought. So St. Louis, Chicago, and Calgary, the next 3 road games for the Oilers. And when you look at this matchup here, this is the first of a back-to-back because they play in Chicago tomorrow night. So now you know that Stuart Skinner is going to get one of these games here for the Edmonton Oilers in net. It's a question of which one's he going to get. And I've seen some sites, and it's confirmed now, actually, that it is going to be Stuart Skinner tonight for the Oilers, with Jack Campbell obviously going to get the game tomorrow in Chicago. Skinner's been really good. so far this year. Now, we don't have a big, strong sample size, but 1.68 goals against average, 944 save percentage. The Buffalo game, he gave up 3 goals in that one against the Sabres. But he also played extremely well in relief of Jack Campbell against Calgary. Calgary won that game 4-3, but he came in when Calgary had already scored 4 goals, and he shut him out and made 31 saves against Calgary. So Stuart Skinner's actually been pretty solid here these first couple games. I like the Oilers in this spot. Again, having lost to St. Louis at home on Saturday, a chance for them to right the ship here. And St. Louis coming back home now after a little bit of a time away on the road as well for them. So maybe the Oilers can maybe jump on them early, take advantage of that. Looks like Jordan Binnington, by the way, will be in net for the Blues tonight. By the way, it looks like a little bit of a shakeup here with the line combinations for the Blues. That could open up some opportunities. Even though I like Edmonton for the game, doesn't mean I can't bet the other team and some of their players in terms of player props. We have Clocher Barbashev, Ivan Barbashev here on the top line tonight for the St. Louis Blues. Kyrou is going to be on the top line as well. He's been bouncing back and forth, first line, second line this year. But Barbashev moving up to the top line really is something. He's got 1 goal on the year, but he looks like, as of right now, if you believe these line combos at morning skate, Barbashev, O'Reilly, and Kyrou as your top line tonight for the St. Louis Blues, which means right away I have to go to my prop sheet, my player props, courtesy of a bet stamp here, and see what the prices are on a guy like Ivan Barbashev, who's going to play on that top line tonight. And you can get plus 300 to plus 330 with him on a top line roll tonight for the St. Louis Blues. So here we go again. Guy moving up to the top line, and he's not priced like it in the goal scorer market. You can get plus 300 or better with a top line player. How do you not bet that? Whoever it is. And we've been able to take advantage of some of these situations. And definitely you're going to see that tonight with Barbashev, it looks like, on the top line for the St. Louis Blues, which is definitely the kind of betting situation prop-wise I'm very much interested in. We've got the Nuge with McDavid and Hyman, top line for the Oilers tonight. Kane, Draisaitl, Yamamoto. So the Nuge getting a little bit of a bump. And look, he did score against Pittsburgh in the victory the other night. So I'm not the biggest Nuge fan. You know that. I think this guy's been one of the more disappointing first-round picks I've seen in the last decade in the National Hockey League. But did score the other night, is going to maybe, looks like, based on the line combos, get a top-line spot and an opportunity there tonight with McDizzle, Connor McDavid. So I think it's an opportunity for maybe the Nuge to find the back of the net tonight. So a couple props I like, and I like Edmonton here, minus 115. Alex, Oilers Blues.
Not so fast, my friend. I'm looking at St. Louis in this spot here. And I liked Edmonton in the first matchup that they had, and they got shut out. St. Louis, if you look back, they've historically given Edmonton fits. And I thought that might have just been, okay, it's a sample size that goes far back, but a lot of different teams. 14-5 the last 19 games against Oilers at home for St. Louis. 27-12 the last 39. That goes way, way back. We're talking about a couple of decades there, but for some reason, St. Louis has always given the Edmonton Oilers trouble, even when they've had moderately the same kind of a lineup or various bad teams going way back in the day. But St. Louis, their defensive style is way different. Someone in the chat mentioned this, when Binnington is in net as opposed to Greiss right now. Binnington is finding his form again. That's something we were kind of questioning, how long can he keep, playing stable hockey in net, because he's just been up and down for the last 2.5, 3 years. But I think, I talked about goalies that might be on the rise or returning back to form after having this kind of these disjointed seasons from the bubble and so forth. Maybe Bennington's on that list. He's the guy I didn't quite have right away. So I'm high on him. And I'm not that high on Stuart Skinner. Yes, he's made 51 or 54 saves in the game and a half that he's played so far. But I'm still not sold that he's even a legitimate number 2 in this league. He's got to prove that to me. And they got to prove to me that they can beat St. Louis. I know they can hang tough offensively, but I think St. Louis, for whatever reason, their style just gives them trouble. And if St. Louis gets out to an early goal lead, which they usually tend to do at home, this could be another trouble spot for the Oilers. So I like St. Louis here. I got it play at plus 100.
All right, Alex, liking the other side, St. Louis minus 105 here in this one. The Cheshire Cat mentioning Professor Cat, as I called him last night because he's a teacher, liking Kreider to score a goal, plus 130, plus 135 for him to score a goal. I don't argue that. I think and he has done well against the Islanders, but here's the problem. It doesn't fall into my bargain bin type of price range when it comes to goal score props. It's when it comes to goal score props, I treat the bets like me shopping around at the grocery store. If I'm buying beef tenderloin, why am I going to buy $11 a pound when I can get it at $6 a pound somewhere else? You know what I mean? I want the bargain. I want the sale. I want the good price, and I'm going to get a better price right now with Oliver Wahlstrom in that game than Chris Kreider. I'm going to get a better price with Ivan Close Shave Barbashev, for the St. Louis Blues tonight than like a Tarasenko, for example. That's what I'm looking at. I'm a bargain bin guy. I'm a bargain shopper. I'm a line shopper. I'm a bargain shopper. I'm thrifty. I'm also a little bit cheap. I will admit that, but nevertheless, that's the way I roll. That's the way I roll. Cheap bastard. Andrew, what do you think here? Oilers and Blues.
Yeah, so I might annoy you because I'm not as much of a bargain bin guy, but I got two bets I like here. I think the Oilers are going to win outright, so I'm going to take them at the minus 115 on the money line. I think it's tough to beat a team twice this early in the season. I think shutting down McDavid the way they did the first game back in Edmonton, I think it'll be hard to replicate. And I think there's just something special about when you have your backup goaltender, and I think it kind of gets the boys a little more energized. I think you play a little smarter defensively. So I think the Oilers come out and play a pretty solid defensive game. Scares me. I never want to take the under in a game where McDavid and Draisaitl are on the lineup. So I'm going to stay away from that one. But one prop bet that I do like for an anytime goal scorer is Zach Hyman. One of my favorite players in the NHL, just the way he plays. You can put him anywhere in the lineup. Gets to the dirty areas of the ice, creates a lot of space for guys like Connor. So I'm getting him at plus 186 on FanDuel for a goal. I know that might not fall into the bargain bin, but that's one that I like. And if you're feeling super risky, I think maybe parlay that goal scorer with a Oilers money line, and you could really make a nice night if things go your way tonight.
Actually, I don't mind that price for Hyman because Hyman seems to be around the net most nights and have at least opportunities, even when the puck doesn't go in for him. And we know he goes to the areas you need to in this league in order to score goals. Front of the net, take a beating, take a pounding. He did it with the Leafs. He's doing it again here with the Oilers. That's the kind of player you expect, is going to score a goal, because even if he doesn't get the space, the time and the space to get the shot away, he's always in that area, right in the crease area, blue paint, right in front of the goalie, where eventually the puck's going to ricochet off a skate, off maybe his leg or something, or hit him in the back and bounce in. And that's the kind of goal Hyman's capable of scoring. So there's no question about that. He's always a threat every night to find the back of the net for the Edmonton Oilers. All right, final game of this short 3-game card on this Wednesday. This is the second TNT game tonight. Tampa Bay, Anaheim. We've got the Lightning. Minus 145 road favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. There's a lot of things that I'm rolling around here, rattling around in my head in terms of betting this one. The one that I've locked in for sure in this game tonight is over 6.5. I'm definitely going to be on that. There's no question about that, because I know we're going to see Anaheim probably a little sloppy off the long road trip, and not exactly playing airtight defense anyway. Right now are the Anaheim Ducks. Most of those games on that road trip were an abomination, and even their one home game against Seattle to open the season, they didn't exactly play great defensively there. They gave up 48 shots. They're just giving up way too many shots. Not all of them have been quality, but you're still giving up the blue line too easily. You're spending way too much time in your own zone. That's a problem right now for the Ducks. I mean, they've surrendered 48, 38, 43, 41, 36, 41 shots in their first few games. It's not been pretty. The amount of rubber that they have yielded to their goaltenders, whether it's Gibson, whether it's Stolarz, and it's just, it's too much right now here early in the season. So that's going to have to shore itself up. Obviously, a disappointing road trip. Didn't win a single game on it. 0-5 on that road trip for the Anaheim Ducks. Islanders, Rangers, Devils, Bruins, Red Wings. They lost each game on that trip. We will see if they can bounce back here tonight against Tampa, a Tampa team that's coming off their own loss 4-2 last night to the LA Kings. Couldn't couldn't take advantage of LA in their first game home off a road trip. That was very surprising. But give LA credit. I mean, they really did a good job. They capitalized on their chances, and they maybe even caught Andrei Vasilevsky on one of those games where he wasn't at his absolute best either. In between the pipes for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So it's interesting to see. Do you know that Gibson and Stolars, by the way, combined this year, 4.5 goals against, 890 save percentage? Terrible. I mean, wow, it's absolutely bad right now. But at the same time, there's been some shoddy defense in front of them. It's one of those scenarios where do you need Gibson to be better? Yes. Do you need Stolars to be better? Yes. But a lot of it's been the blue line has just not been great for the Ducks in terms of shutting down the opposition here early in the season. It's also been a surprisingly high-scoring series history recently between the Lightning and the Ducks. If you look back on it, 4 straight overs, 6-2, 4-3, 5-1, 4-3, the final scores in those games. So definitely a situation where we've seen these teams play a little bit of a high-scoring hockey. We think we're going to see Brian Elliott tonight in net for the Lightning on the back-to-back. Not confirmed yet for Anaheim, but John Gibson projected. Elliott did play all right against the Islanders. 35 shots. He made 32 saves, gave up 3 goals. Played pretty well in that game. Did not play well before that, though. His other start at Pittsburgh was that game where he gave up 5 goals on 44 shots in that game in a 6-2 loss to the Pittsburgh Penguins. So, Elliott is just one of those goalies. That's kind of what you get with him. He was a little bit better last game, and he wasn't very good the game before that. You get a little up, a little down, a little bit of everything with Brian Elliott. But I think Anaheim at home is going to be able to score some goals tonight, especially Tampa back-to-back with Elliott in net, because they put up a 5 spot, remember, when they played at their only home game this year against Seattle way back early in the season. So I do like over 6.5. There's going to be some other leans that I have depending on Elliott being confirmed. I might actually add a Duck team total over if that's indeed the case as well, at a reasonable number. A Ducks team total, by the way, is 2.5 here, at a modest -135, -140 price. I like that. I think they could get to 3 goals here, and also like that full game over 6.5, like I said. As far as prop considerations for this game, and it's the one thing I like about when we have the short cards, we can get into the props a little bit more. Brandon Hagel's on the top line with point, and you saw the dividends it paid. He scored last night for the Lightning. Brandon Hagel, I think, is a value prop for the Lightning now that he's up on the top line. They've pushed Nemesnikov up to the second line with Stamkos and Killorn. Nemesnikov, someone that might be due to find the back of the net at some point with the increased ice time and elevation up the lineup into the second line with Steven Stamkos, who, of course, has been the best offensive player, bar none, so far this year for the Tampa Bay Lightning. As far as Anaheim is concerned, Terry is really good in terms of scoring goals at home in particular, so he might be someone you look at here in terms of goal scorer prop. I've been impressed so far with what I've seen out of Frank Vatrano. He's given you 3 goals already this year for the Anaheim Ducks. He also scored a goal in the one home game Anaheim had this year against Seattle. So Frank Vatrano's a decent option, I think, in terms of player prop tonight. Mason McTavish hasn't found the back of the net yet. He has had some chances lately, and even though he hasn't found the back of the net yet, we've seen him get chances the last couple of games. So I think he's bound to have his Jonathan Huberdeau moment pretty sooner rather than later and get that first goal for Anaheim. So there's some props that I'm eyeing for this game. Alex, how about you here, Tampa Bay, Anaheim?
Yeah, this is a past pregame, and someone kind of mentioned in the chat if there was any live overs. This is one where I'm probably going to be looking for that 6.5 to come down to 5.5. If I can lay 125, 130 with a 5.5 as opposed to a 6.5, I'm going to go with that. And even if I grab plus money, it'll be even better. But that's my target range, 120 to 130 for a 5.5 live in game. I think we could definitely see goals back and forth. Chris Otto making a good point about both teams to score has cashed in 5 of the last 7 Lightning games. So that might be something I would maybe look to maybe sprinkle on beforehand. But I think live over is going to be a good spot, especially even if it is, as I said, we're going to expect Elliott to go in net. But if it's Gibson or Stolars for Anaheim, I still feel fine with 5.5. 6.5, I would rather have Gibson right now, to be honest, because he looks broken. And they kind of hinted at the fact that he might be playing through a little bit of an injury. We heard that, and now seeing how he was in his last start, just absolutely pathetic. I mean, this is a guy I thought was going to really kind of bounce back into good form. He's been obviously mentioned in a lot of possible trade talks for teams trying to bolster up their goaltending down the road this season. He may not actually be the guy. I mean, he might end up having to stay in Anaheim because the form that he's in right now, if he's not healthy or if it's signs of fatigue, that he's being overworked from the last several seasons because he's had to be the workhorse for Anaheim for quite some time. Maybe there's more spots to actually fade Gibson. So I have over 5.5. I'm looking for anything 120 to 130 early in the period. So you should probably be able to get that within the first 5 minutes if there's no score.
All right, looking for some live opportunities here, Alex, with the Lightning and Ducks. Andrew, what do you think here? Tampa Bay, Anaheim.
Yeah, so I don't love the value, obviously, on Tampa Bay, but I think they bounce back and get a win here. I think I'm almost tempted even to go -1.5. I think California trips in general, from experience and just from friends who have played at the highest level, NHL level, I think those types of trips really bring the boys together early in the year. I think that's a great opportunity for them, even after a loss last night. Regardless of Elliott's in or not, I really think Tampa comes out and maybe gets back to their old ways. There's not good value on it, so I'm not saying this is a bet I would take tonight, but Kucherov goal scoring at +152. It's a Kucherov line. He's had a tough start to the year, but you get that first goal last night. It's kind of a garbage time goal, not a pretty one by any means, but it's nice for someone like him to see the puck go in the back of the net. So sometimes these guys are pretty streaky. So +52 isn't a great value, but there could be a half a unit play maybe there. But I really like Tampa. I think it's just a good hockey team that's kind of, like we talked about earlier at the beginning of the show, that's kind of coming out sluggish after probably a short offseason again. But I think this is a spot where they kind of remind everybody that they've been in the Stanley Cup final for the past 3 years.
All right, like in Tampa Bay and a bounce back. There are trends, Andrew, that fit what you're saying. They're 36-17 in their last 53 tries in the back-to-back situation. So on the second night of back-to-backs, they've actually been very good. Tampa Bay long-term, 36-17, and they're off a loss. So you'd expect them to give a good solid effort after the disappointment last night against LA. They've also trended over the total on back-to-back, 18-7 to the over on the second night of back-to-back games, the Tampa Bay Lightning. So that fits what I like there with goals in this game, Lightning and Ducks to go over the total. And again, 4 straight head-to-heads, Tampa Bay versus Anaheim have gone over the total as well. Great stuff. That is the Wednesday card. We appreciate everybody tuning in on YouTube. Hit the like button. Make sure you do that. And again, Patreon exclusive premieres at 3:30 this afternoon. Fighting in the NHL, the current state of it, where we go from here with it. Past and present top enforcers in our opinions, myself, Alex, and our guest, Jay Rosehill. So make sure you check that out. 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Patreon.com/Ice Guys. Just $10 a month to see that. Subscribe, and you'll get all the great content. Like we said, period totals charts, power ratings, goalie depth charts that Alex has, daily betting cards from the Ice Guys show, all that and more posted on the Patreon page, patreon.com/Ice Guys. So make sure you check that out. Great show, guys. Let's wrap it up with best bets for this Wednesday. Alex, we'll start with you. What do you like for best bet?
Yeah, we'll go with the only bet that I've actually personally made. It's St. Louis Blues money line at even money. Like I said, historically, the Blues have given the Oilers fits. They did that already this season, and now coming home to play them, Bennington and net against Skinner, I think that's a bit of a mismatch goaltending-wise. So I'm going to side with the whole team, go with the Blues at even money is my best bet tonight.
All right, there we go. Blues +100, -105 in that range against the Oilers. Best bet for Alex P. Smith. Andrew, what do you like for your best bet tonight?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Tampa Bay puck line -1.5. I think there's some good value there for a really good team. I don't trust Anaheim's goaltending situation, obviously on the road, but I don't think that's a deterrent to scare you off Tampa Bay. I like them tonight in the back-to-back, and hearing your trends just a minute ago make me a little more confident. So I never love taking the puck lines, but this is one I feel pretty good about.
There you go. Tampa Bay Lightning -1.5, +170 puck line against Anaheim for Andrew Goss with his best bet. My best bet's going to be from that same game, but it's going to be the total. Tampa Bay Anaheim over 6.5, -105. There are some -105 prices available with that total, -110 in some spots, but we're going to go with that. I mean, series history's trended over. Tampa Bay's trended over on the second of back-to-back games. Anaheim's playing the type of woeful defense right now that's going to lend itself to overs at this point in time. And you might even see even more miscues with the puck defensively after a long road trip coming back home like this. So let's look for some goals in the late night hours tonight. Tampa Bay, Anaheim, over 6.5, -105 for my best bet for this Wednesday edition of the Ice Guys. That'll wrap it up. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Hit the like button. Tomorrow, we've got a good friend of mine, Keith Grondin, joining us as a guest tomorrow. You saw him actually on some of our betcasts last year in the playoffs. He joined us, someone that I'm going back and forth talking plays for the day in various sports. So a guy that played college hockey here in Canada. So he'll join us as a guest tomorrow. We got someone else Friday, and then Vito will be with us, of course, for Saturday and Sunday, as he always is. Hopefully a little bit more awake than he was last night on the betcast. And again, make sure you hop over to Patreon, check out the first video exclusive that we have with Jay Rosehill, premiering at 3:30 Eastern later this afternoon. Great stuff. We appreciate it. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex P. Smith, Andrew Goss, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will talk to you again tomorrow on Thursday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by National Hockey Now.